Welcome to the Better Together podcast, where we look for ways we can work together to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ. Today, we have with us Bradley Mercer. You may know him. He's actually a missionary who works in the United States as he tries to reach international students at the University of Missouri. So you may think, okay, why would Bradley be on today? I think Bradley has a lot to offer any of us who live close to a college or any of us that interact with people that are international students or from other places in the world. And so, Bradley, first of all, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the Better Together podcast today.
Of course, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to be here.
Now, Bradley, some people may think, what does this guy do? So let's start out by giving them a little bit of a sense of what you've been doing over the last several months. And I think that'll kind of lay the groundwork where as people listen to what you do, some of your knowledge they'll see would be very helpful to them as they try to reach other people with the gospel. So what's a day like for Bradley Mercer?
Yeah, so I've been in Columbia, Missouri, to minister to the international student population here since last September. And since then, my wife and I have developed a ministry called the Access Ministries. And our initial point of contact to meet a student is through English conversation, through our English conversational program called Let's Speak English. And through that, we get to learn about all the various different needs and how to serve the international student community. Whether it be through transportation, driving lessons, which I'm doing driving lessons 5 times a week now with international students, which is a lot of fun. And
It'd be
then,
dangerous too, Bradley.
yeah, it could, but we're very careful with it, and it's a lot of fun. It just creates a lot of opportunities that you wouldn't have with students that don't come to your English conversational program too, which is just really cool. And then holiday invitations into the home because 80% of international students don't get welcomed into an American home. So we're trying to be a part of the solution to that problem. And then just trips and things like that too. Students have a very monotonous lifestyle. And whether they in their master's, their doctorate, they just go to the lab at 7 a.m. and they don't go home until 7 p.m., sometimes 9 p.m. And that's their life every day. So we just try to give them a break from those things, let them experience American culture and have community and friendships and relationships that will last a lifetime. So day to day looks different every day, but
Yeah.
that's a little bit of what we do.
Well, that's great work. And I'm driving down the road. I'm hearing you talk about that. And I think, wow, that's great that Bradley can do that. What does that have to do with me? And maybe what it has to do with our listener is that key statistic you mentioned. Was it 80% of international students never get invited into Americans' home?
Yes, I believe it's 80%. It might actually be more.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most recent stat that I've heard on that.
And we have, I think it's Tyler actually that does a ministry similar to yours. And people have come to his home and he sees later on Facebook where they videotaped it, they put it on social media, quite proud to be able to say, hey, I've been in American's home. It's a pretty big deal, isn't it, for them to go and have a meal in the home of an American?
Absolutely, it is. In fact, if I can just kind of share a story about one of our Japanese friends, her name is Ari. She's actually from Tokudozawa, Japan, which is where Hope Alive is at, and which is just a crazy connection that we have. But last year, her friend came to the States with every exchange student is sent with a hosting gift for their host family. And last year, her friend left the United States from her time in the States with that same gift that she was sent with because she was never welcomed into a home. And that just goes to show you that they come with that expectation to be welcomed into your home. They come with that expectation to be invited. But 80 to 85% of the time, that's never happening. And they
Oh,
leave with that same with that discouragement and maybe frustration. So
yeah, that's a sad thing. So you're listing, we talk about a bucket list or to-do list. That's there, and you would think that would be an easy thing, but here's someone that came and never gave. So how is it? Do I just drive over to the campus and say, hey, why don't you come and have a meal with me? it's almost like we think, oh, that sounds a little strange, doesn't it? How is it if my church or I'm close to someone, some international students, how can I get them? How can we make this work where we can get them in our homes?
Yeah, well, it's the holiday season. We just celebrated Thanksgiving. We're about to celebrate Christmas. A lot of holidays that we hold near and dear to our hearts that I think people from all around the world, from different parts of the world, especially from parts of the world that don't celebrate Thanksgiving or Christmas or call it by a different name, if you will, they have this great curiosity to experience what it is like to celebrate those things in America.
Yeah.
And with that great curiosity, it just creates such an easy invite opportunity to experience for an international student or an international friend to experience that with you in your home, not just out in public, but more so in your home because that's what the very root of like that's how you celebrate it as you and your family. That's your tradition, and that's what they want to learn about. So I think just the holidays creates that easy invite opportunity.
So the key is it really doesn't work to meet them at a restaurant. They want to be able to say, I went to the home of an American. And you're saying Thanksgiving is a great opportunity. Christmas is a great opportunity because their Thanksgiving, especially, is an American holiday. Christmas, the way it's done in America, you can say, hey, I saw what it was like. I actually experienced it. So we know they want to come. You mentioned earlier they spend a lot of time in labs. I'll say from my own experience, a lot of time in libraries, and actually over Christmas, a lot of time in libraries and so forth. So do I just go to the lab or library and say, hey, do you want to enjoy Thanksgiving with us or enjoy a Christmas meal with us?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could do that, but I think it's probably better if you just get connected to your local university because I mean they have international students. They do. They may not have much, but they do, and they know the reality of what an international student's life looks like, even during breaks, even during holiday breaks. They don't leave. Um,
Right.
they don't have the luxury to leave. They don't have the finances to leave back to the other side of the world where their families are. So during holiday breaks, during spring breaks, summer breaks, most of them stay. They don't, and maybe they have an internship during those breaks or whatever, but they're still working and they have breaks, and um, they that's just an opportunity for you to get plugged into the university and say, hey, I'm here and I'm available and I want to host an international student in my home. And from my experience, and I can even speak from Tyler and Kelly's experience up at the University of Illinois, that they are very hospitable towards that.
Yeah.
That's something they want to do for their internationals.
Good, good. So you're a listener and you're like, where do I start? So you've got a university in your area. Go to the search part on that university website and just type in international affairs or international students. And what you're saying, Bradley, is there would be a number or there would be an email there. And so you're saying call up International Affairs Division or whoever it is that works with international students. And you're saying no matter how small or how big the college, there's people that do that. Just let them know, hey, I live in this area and we're such and such, and we would welcome a couple of international students over for Thanksgiving or over for Christmas.
Yeah, they're
And
they're constantly looking for people to help. Like there's so many people that want to help international students, whether it be
yes,
from a ministry standpoint or not. There's so many people that are aware of the needs there.
and our listeners may think, oh, well, I heard that universities are anti-Christian or they're this way. Universities have problems, don't they? And so when everybody is off, we still have to take care of the international students. And if they've got a couple of big things on their bucket list they're able to accomplish, you actually helped out the university a little bit by doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know campuses gets really scarce, except for the library and the labs at a university during the holidays. Other times where we should really be aware of the needs of international students on the university campus, Bradley?
Are there other times? Is that what you? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think during like spring breaks, maybe summer break, like we had talked about, those are just times where um, most of your American students are leaving,
Yeah.
and they like we talked about before, those international students, they're still there committed to their research. They're still there committed to their job and their supervisor who maybe has left them in the lab to fend for themselves, but they're still there
Yeah.
and they don't get a break.
So
And plus,
whereas
there's just a lot of pressure there for them to do
there's a
well.
lot of pressure, and so a lot of American students, well, most of them, they go somewhere. They have a destination for spring break. I mean, there's movies about that, right? But most international students, they don't have a car, and they don't have any resources to go anywhere. So they're going to be on that campus on spring break. So I think I hear you saying, Bradley, look at the calendar of your university and look at when spring break is. And that is a very good time to try to invite somebody over for your house or try to do something as a church for international students, because it's kind of lonely on that campus. I don't know. You guys have 40,000 students.
Yeah, we're at 31,000 students right now.
Okay. You
Yeah.
know, one of the campuses I was, well, NCCU, we had 86,000, or 8,600, I should say, small campus, but man, it feels lonely. International students, if you're there all by yourself. So you're saying invite them over, be on the lookout for it. What do I do as far as preparing meals and the time that we spend with each other? Walk through that a little bit for our listeners.
Um, I mean, I would invite people around you, maybe within the church body, to be a part of this with you. You don't have to feel the pressure of cooking for 10 to 15 people on your own, even though you don't have to have 10 to 15 people. But if you're going to have a large group at your home, just invite people around you to be a part of it. I think if you just, in general, if you invite people to be a part of something bigger than themselves, like that, then they're more than happy to take advantage of that opportunity. And we say bigger than yourselves, and because this is obviously for like those easy. It is an easy invite opportunity, but it's also just an easy segue to talk about the things that matter to us, to talk about the gospel. Like
Mhm.
Thanksgiving. I'm so thankful for how God has blessed me in my life and my family. This is how you can be thankful for Him. Christmas holiday. This is about Jesus. This is Jesus. This is our King. This is who we live for. Um, this is who is here for us, and He can be here for you too. Just easy segues into conversations like that.
Yeah. So you're saying they're interested in, why do you have a tree? Why do you put decorations on the tree? And you're saying that's a real easy way to try to bring in the gospel. Why do you always get together as Americans on, last Thursday of the month, and maybe even talk about the history of America a little bit and talk about what God has done? It creates good opportunities. And they often like to use their English, don't they? So they are good, or they're often interested in answering questions about their studies, about what their home life is like. And so really there's no having to worry about things to talk about, is there?
Yeah, if they may not know very much English, they obviously had to pass a test to get here, so they had to know English to some degree, but they may not be able to speak it very well, but what words they do know, they will use them in conversation with you, and they want to talk to you and they want to get better at it. Um, and just going back to, you know, the easy segues of conversation too. Like, I think what international students see whenever they're observing people, and how they celebrate Christmas, how they celebrate Thanksgiving, like there's just this understanding in their minds of like, this is how America celebrates it. This is how America does this. But even if they see you celebrating differently, like you are, as the Christian should be set apart, they're seeing that you are celebrating differently than the average American would. That's going to bring questions. They're going to ask
Yeah.
questions about that. And then because that's just from our experience, like they're going to ask those questions, and there's your opportunity there to just plug in. Hey, this is how the world celebrates it, but this is what Christmas really means to me, and this is why it's important to me and my family.
So they have stereotypes in their mind, maybe things they've heard, things they've seen in movies. And what you're saying is they're trying to anticipate what it's going to be like. You doing it the right way is really a witness.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's great. Well, boy, we really appreciate you. We appreciate Madison, the good work you all are doing, and what a unique ministry. But Bradley, I know your heart is that all over America, people will reach out to international students, reach them with the gospel. And I know you would be open to helping people or churches if they're interested in doing more on that. How can they reach you to learn more about ministering to international students?
Yeah, that we want to see this replicated everywhere, as many places as we can, because though University of Missouri has a little over 4,000 international students, University of Illinois is one of the top 10 represented universities in the country with international student representation. There's other schools out there that have even more than that. So we want to see this replicated. But if your church or you personally just have questions, just reach out to me in my email. It's bmercer@iminc.org. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me. And I'd love to help you.
That's great. And we appreciate you doing that. And we want to remind our listeners there is a Reaching International Students Task Force. Kurt Holland at IM heads it up. Bradley's part of that. Farron Tebow's part of that. A lot of different fellows, Tyler as well. The Penns are part of that too. And so you're listing, there's a lot of international students in places that are going back to places where we can't take the gospel. And if you have any college at all, it's very possible that you have international students. And even if you're a smaller college, you don't have to. NC State, Bradley, has 6,000 international students. So you're listening and you're thinking, I don't live close to Raleigh. What can I do? Actually, if you're close to a smaller college, they probably have a smaller international affairs division and they're even more desirous of your help. And so it's just a good way. It's kind of low hanging fruit to try to reach people with the gospel. And we encourage you to reach out to these folks and do what you can to reach them. Well, thank you, Bradley, for taking the time to be with us today, buddy.
Thanks for having me again. It's always a privilege.
We want to thank you, our listener. Maybe you know someone that would benefit from this podcast. Please take it. Please share it with them. Remember, every little thing we do, it really does matter. It really does help and make a difference when we work together. We're better together. Thank you for joining us today.